Hello everyone, I'm Raghavendran. So welcome back to the course. So as we said in the introduction, so today we will be covering the parts like how to set a splash screen, how to set an icon, how to use Firebase authentication for authentication and for signing up, and how to start up with bottom navigation in Android Studio. So the current Android Studio version I'm using is 4.0. So once you just install Android Studio and just hit start a new Android Studio project, you will get to the screen. So as usual, it is always better to stick to an empty activity, and you can also create a bottom navigation activity from an empty activity, but through in this course we'll be sticking only to the project templates provided by Android. So okay, let's just get started. So hit empty activity, just go in. So name your application. So our application will be the social media simulation, social media sim. So I'm gonna put it as social media sim, and I'll just check if my current language is Java and the minimum API version is 16. So finish. It is always better to have all your resources in a folder. So I'll just before this Gradle finishes, I'll just create a new folder. I'll have all my resources within that folder. I will also all add the assets that I have used in the description, so you can get it from below. So I already have collected all my assets into this asset folder, and you have all my assets here. So I'll just copy all my assets, and I'm gonna put it in Android Studio. So first, we would have to verify a few things before you start. Check if you get this thing right here. So it means that your app has successfully had a build, so you can start developing. So once you verify that part, just go in here. So this is your Android directory. So when you are into the Android pane, you will have two things. One is your app, another one is your Gradle. So Gradle is basically the thing which is going to compile all your API and external dependencies and connect it with your application for further usage. And app is the place where you put in your source code. So just go in. So within this, there are three things. One is manifest. Manifest is the most important file because this is the place where you would have to declare all the permissions that your application is going to use. So this is the place where you would have to specify everything, and it gets the context of each and every activity that you're gonna have in your Android Studio. So this place is there. So other than that, you have Java. Java is the place where you're gonna write in your entire backend code, and REST stands for resources, and within resources you have a lot of stuff. One is drawable. Drawable is the place where you have to keep all your image assets. So first I'm gonna drop all my image assets over there. So I have already copied it, so I'm gonna paste it over here. So once I hit paste, it is gonna prompt me whether you want it here. So yes, hit OK, hit OK. So now it adds all the image assets in here. So that's it. So this is the place where you have to keep all your image assets, that is within the resources folder, within drawable folder. So then we have something called layout. Layout is the place where you're gonna design all your front end stuff. So our front end is gonna be written in activity main.xml, and our backend is gonna be in main activity.java. On the first page, as we said, we're gonna have something called a splash screen. First, we'll just go ahead. So in order to create a splash screen, we need an image view. So first, let's drag and drop an image view. So we'll drag and drop an image view. So in that, it will show me all the image assets that I have. So I'm gonna select one. So that's it. I've selected my image asset, and I'm gonna put it right back to the screen, and I'm gonna set it. Yeah, it is constraint. So now we are in the constraint layout. So we would have to constrain, and since my image asset covers the entire screen, so it is already constrained. So we'll get to the backend part, and since my image is not visible, I'm gonna change the color. So how do I do it? I'm gonna add something like background to the first tag that is present. So background is gonna be of some color. So you can just select the color, and you can get into the color palette and change the color, or you can also select custom colors from here. So I have already have a custom color code selected, so I'll just go ahead, I'll use that up. So this is my custom color code that I use. So I'll just put that custom color code. This custom color code is what I have used in the previous application that I showed. So you can change this thing to any color code that you want. You can change the darkness, or you can change it to any way you want it. So we'll just stick with this color code for this application. So yeah, you can customize it any way you want. So now a screen has been put. So now what we have to do is, a splash screen is something that has to be shown for some amount of time, right? So in order to do this, we are going to be using the concept of thread in this. So what we would have to do is, we would have to create a new handler which is going to execute a post delayed function. So this post delayed function takes two arguments. One is a runnable. So runnable is the thing which runs the actual thread part. So as you can see, this is the first argument, right? So from here, I would have to put a comma over here to specify the second argument. And the second argument is the time in which it has to delay. So it is in milliseconds. So I'll put something in milliseconds stands for 3 seconds. So what this code part basically does is, so this handler will execute the function run once 3 seconds, that is 3000 milliseconds gets done. So that is what post delayed is used for. So once 3000 seconds is over, the run function will get executed. So within this run function, what we would have to do, we would have to get it to the next screen. So we'll declare something like intent equal to new intent activity dot this, the place where you want. So let it be main activity 2.java. So main activity 2.class. We'll hit up a semicolon over here, and then we'll put something like start activity intent. So that's it, everything is done. But the problem is we do not have a new main activity. So once again, we'll get to new, we'll create our activity, which is gonna be our empty activity. So we hit it. So it is gonna ask you to set a name. We already have it in main activity too, so there is no change. We'll just hit finish. That's not usual thing. It is just for creation. You will not get it. So even if you get it, just hit yes. It is just for downloading and updating all your APIs up to date. So that's not a big issue. So okay, fine. Now the error has gone. So once 3000 seconds get over, it is gonna load to this screen. So this screen will be visible for 3 seconds, and after that we will be loaded to this screen. So this is the screen where we said that we are gonna verify all the authentication part, right? So I'm gonna first tell you how to connect with Firebase, and then we'll get to the other parts. So go into tools, you will find something called Firebase. Hit Firebase. So you would have to log into your Google account up there. So once you have logged into your Google account, this thing won't be any complicated. So you just go, we need Firebase authentication. So we'll just go into Firebase authentication. We'll connect to Firebase. So we'll wait for it to get done. So we are going to create a new project, and that's it. You just hit finish, connect to Firebase. So when you hit connect to Firebase, it will connect your current application to Firebase. So we'll wait for that to get completed. So what it basically does is, it is going to create a new application. So we would need to get to our application in Firebase. We'll also do that part. So this is my Firebase account. So I'm just gonna go to see all projects. So I'll just go. Okay, fine. Yeah, it's our new project should be visible here soon. So we'll just wait for that part in Android to get completed. So as you see, it says that Firebase project created and connected locally to module app. So now it says that a new Firebase project has been created in the name of social media sim. So we'll just go ahead and verify that part. So we should have something. So here is our social media sim. So we'll just get into that. So this is our Firebase application. So as I told, we need authentication for Firebase, right? So we'll just go ahead. We will find a lot of stuff on the right left side. So one will be authentication, another will be storage, another will be database, hosting, functions, and machine learning sort of stuff. So Firebase is a Google provided platform which provides you a lot of services. One of the most effective things Firebase has ever provided will be real-time database and authentication, which is very useful for Android developers. So today we are going to be looking into Firebase authentication. So let's get to Firebase authentication. So in Firebase authentication, we need to set up a method. So our default method is going to be email. You can also use the other methods, which will be Google sign in or phone number based verification, or play games based verification, or Facebook verification, or GitHub based verification, or you can also set it to anonymous. So these are the number of ways in which you can ensure authentication to your application. So by default, we are going to stick to email or password based authentication. So we'll get back to the user screen. So we'll get back to our project. So now we have connected to Firebase, and now we would have to add certain dependencies to our project, which will be allowing us to use Firebase authentication sort of stuff. So go ahead, click add Firebase to your application. Now what it says is it is going to add a dependency, this dependency to your Firebase project level, and this is going to add these two dependencies to your Firebase, that is to your Gradle script app. So I'll just go ahead and show it to you. So what it says is it is gonna add all these stuffs that it says to Gradle app and Gradle project. So once you add a dependency to this place, it will just download the API and it will help you to use that API. So we'll just go ahead, hit that accept changes. Now it adds both the APIs that we need. So Firebase authentication is the API that we are gonna use. So it is currently adding that. So yeah, now our project currently has Firebase authentication added to it. So now we are just gonna use that API. So I'll tell you how to do that. So we'll close all our front ends. So this is the place where we want it, right? So first let's go and design our front end. Let me change it to split part. And by default, let's go ahead and set our background color, and we will just use the last color we used. So that was, we'll use this color, or if you feel that looks too gloomy, we'll just stick to this. Okay, right. So now we're gonna add three things over here. First, we're gonna add an image view. We're gonna use the palette. We are going to use the image view. We'll just drag and drop the image view, and now it will ask us, so we'll just go ahead and select. Now it is too big, we'll just have to adjust it to the screen. We'll adjust it to the screen. Now it is showing some sort of an error because it is not vertically constrained. So we'll go ahead, we'll add a few vertical constraints too. So yeah, we have added a vertical constraint. Now we need two text views. Sorry, we need two text boxes to get the input from the user. So this is gonna be the login screen. So we do not need a name, we need email. So I'm just gonna drag and drop an email, and then we'll drag and drop a password. Then we'll use a button. So we'll just drag and drop a button. And finally, we'll add a text view. So why we are adding a text view is, if you are a new user, you would have to click here to sign up. So that is what we are gonna say to the user there. So we'll just go up. So it still shows a few errors because it is not, none of these are vertically constrained. So we'll just constrain them vertically. So 48 dp is too big, so we'll just drag it down to those. 32 dp is fine. So all these stuffs are vertically constrained. So now it shows no error. First, we will have to have a hint displayed on all of them. So we'll just go ahead. So what that hint is gonna be is an email over here. So email, and then this is a hard-coded string. So if you are gonna deploy your application in some other country than in your home country, you need a translation service, right? So if you need a translation service, you need to have all your strings in a single place so that the translation service could effectively convert all the things to the native language. So where is this? Where is all the strings that are being held? So you find it under resources, under values. You'll find something called strings.xml. Within this, you will have all your string resources, which will be converting all these string resources to the to the native language where your application is to be displayed. So we'll just hit up Alt Enter over here. So it will say extract string resource. We'll hit Enter. So yeah, that being done, we'll get the entire. So now we have added a string resource called email. The same goes for password too. So we'll add a new hint called password. So password. We'll extract the string resource and we'll also put it there. So we need the button to be something called as login. Login. We'll extract the string resource. Enter. And then we'll do the same for our text view, and text view should display something like new user sign up. Click here to sign up as a new user. Click here. As a new user. So that is what we are gonna say, and we'll just go ahead. We'll extract that string resource too. Put it. So yeah, all our string resources are extracted, and this is how our front end looks like. And as you can see, UI is not that much formidable. It is just like box and boxes. So if you need to create something like a customized text plane, or you want a rounded edge on a button, you would have to create a template for that. So I'll go ahead and show you how to create a new template. So first, on your drawable folder, so we'll just go ahead on the drawable, we'll right click on it, we'll create a new drawable resource file, and that drawable resource file root element is gonna be shape. So let me hit shape. The file name that I'm gonna use is, so this template will be applied to all the elements that I need. So that template's attributes will be applied to these elements. So I'll just go ahead. This is my template. So on the design part, you will have nothing because this template has. So for now, we'll just stick with the code. We need to specify the shape that is going to use. So we'll specify the shape as rectangle. Then we'll add something like corners. So in corners, we would have to specify radius. We'll specify something like 10 pixels. We'll close this up. Now it will ask something like, we can add something like solid, which means color. So Android color, and here we would have to specify the color. So for this color, I'm gonna choose some other color. So which color it? So we'll not stick with this color. We'll stick with the color we used in the first page. This color. I'm gonna use that color. And padding is something, how much distance you want to give it around the stuff. So we'll just we don't need a padding, I suppose. So we do not need a padding. So instead of padding, we'll have something like yeah, everything is fine. So first, I'll show you kind of changes this template will make to our current. So we have created the template and we are gonna apply the template. So how do we apply the template? So let's say you wanna apply that template to this email box. So what you would have to do is you would have to come here. You select your drawable template file, and then it will change it to this sort of stuff. Same time, we need the text at the center. So for that, I'm gonna use something like gravity center horizontal. So the text will be displayed in center horizontal, and I want the text to be in white. So I'm gonna give text color. We would have to give first we'll give the text color. But basically, it is not the text that is being present. We have specified a hint of sort, so we would have to specify something like hint color. So text color hint. So then we'll put up hash FFF. So hash FFF is a color code. So it varies from 000 to FFFFF 6Fs. So which is of a hexadecimal format to specify the color that is going to be used. So instead of white, let's put the hint to a little grayer bit so people don't confuse both. We use the same thing. What we are going to do now is we are going to set the Android color. We are going to set the background template for both our password and our button and our text view. So we'll just add that. So we also need to add the center horizontal thing. So we'll just put up gravity. So gravity is going to be in center horizontal. So that is done. So now we'll have to apply it to our login. So we'll just go ahead. So we get something like this. So our text is white. We do not have a hint for login sort of stuff. So we'll just go ahead. Yeah, it looks good. So we'll just go ahead. We'll make it a bit smaller. So yeah, now it almost looks perfect. So yeah. At the final stop, we will also add our template to our text view. So our text view looks something like this. Instead of wrap content, let's put something like match parent, so that it covers the entire thing. And then we'll put something like gravity and gravity to center horizontal, so the text is at center. And what else do we need? We do not need a text hint color because there is no hint over there. It is just a text view. It is going to display the text. So all our UI has been perfectly displayed and everything is fine. So now we have to concentrate on the working part. So first we'll get to the design mode. So on the component tree, so you have something like component tree. I'll show you what being changed. From the design mode, you will find something on the top left. It is called component tree. We'll get to our design. So as you can see, there is something called component tree. So this component basically displays all the elements that are being present in your application. So first, this is an image view. The next thing is an edit text. The other thing is an edit text. The final thing is a button, and then there is a text view. So it also puts up the ID of all those stuff that you are using. So we'll get to our backend. We'll start coding over there. So yeah, we need edit text. So I'm gonna use edit text. So one is gonna be my email, another is gonna be my password. So then we'll use string to get and save that email and password. So that thing is there. So then we have a button. So I'm gonna create a button class, and then my button will be named as login. Then we'll have a text view. So text view PV. So I'll just write it there. So now we have declared all the components. Now we would have to connect our front-end components with our back-end components. So let's just go ahead. Email equal to find view by ID dot ID dot the name of the button that we have used. It is just button. So how do I know it's just button? So you would have to verify it from the component tree. You just go to a component tree. You can see the name of our button is button, or you can also verify it in the side. So you have something called button. So we have some problem right there. So we'll just go ahead and check what that is. So email is our edit text, and by default it is not cast to edit text. So we'll just wait a second. Sorry. We have connected our button to our edit text, our email to our email. So yeah, that part is done. So now we would have to connect our password to our pass. So find view by ID dot ID dot password. So edit text password, and then I'll hit a semicolon over here. Now we would have to connect our button. So our button name is login. So login equal to find view by ID dot ID dot edit text button. So you might have another doubt. So what is this r.id dot stuff? So this R stands for resources and ID stands for a unique identifier. All the front-end components in your application has a unique identifier added to it. So that is what this ID stands for. Each of these ID has a specific integer value. So I'll show you that thing. So PV equal to find view by ID R dot within my resources I have the unique identifier within which I have a unique integer value assigned for each thing. So as you can see, this one what to say, that is something like some digit. So some integer value is assigned to text view, and this integer value for text view is unique throughout the project. So if you are using the same text view anywhere, it is going to use the same text view that is being present, right? So if you are going to the next pages, be sure that you are not using anything from the previous pages, any content or objects from the previous front-end objects. So you would have to make sure that you always create a new name for your front-end identifiers, front-end objects. So we'll just go ahead and connect with our front-end. Now we are not going to have any problems of that sort. So we'll just go ahead. So what should happen? So as soon as the user clicks this button, we would have to get the string from these two things. If we would have to check whether he has entered both of the strings, then we would have to check it. So first we'll go ahead. So how to do that? How to do that verification part? So login is our button. So login dot set on click listener. So if somebody, we would have to set an on click listener to that, so that it listens and checks if somebody is clicking on that or not. So set on click listener, then it shows that it is not nullable. So what we'll do is we need to create an on click listener class. So new on click listener. So it says view on click listener, just hit enter. It will put up all the source code that you need. So everything is done. So what happens when you click on that button has to be specified in here. So we'll just go ahead. As soon as you click that button, first we are gonna use our email string and we are gonna get the content from there. So email dot get text dot to string, and we are gonna save it in our email, and same way we are gonna save it to our password too. So we'll just go ahead, pass equal to pass get text dot to string. So we are just getting both the information from email and password, that is our edit text objects, and we are storing it into our string containers. Now we'll check something like if email not equal to null, so we cannot say that. So it is basically a string object. It will be an empty string object. So if email equals null, which means that the user has not entered the data, we would use something like an or condition. Pass dot equals null object reference, then we'll do something. So we'll ask the user to enter all the details. We give an information to the user using toast. So toast is something that displays the text like an what to say, like a suggestion. So we'll just go ahead. We would have to specify 3 arguments for main text. One is the place where we are gonna use it. So it is main activity 2 dot this. Then we would have to specify the content. We will specify enter all. Then you would have to specify the time for which it has to be shown. So we'll set it to short, and then you would have to say that show. What it basically does is it will show the text, enter all the fields. It will show the suggestion, enter all the fields if one of the thing is equal to null. Okay. So else if in the else if part, we are gonna check something like both of these things should not be null. Okay, so how do we do that? So not of email dot equals this thing at the same time my password should also be not null. So pass dot equals, and that means that both the texts are not empty, which means I've got information from both email and pass, right? So we'll proceed with this part. So now what we would have to do, we would have to use the Firebase authentication procedures, and we would have to authenticate with Firebase and to check if we have such a user, and if there exists such a user, we are gonna let him log in. Right. So this might seem a little bit complicated, but it is a very easy thing. So first you need to specify something like Firebase authentication. We'll just go ahead. We'll do that. Firebase auth. We are gonna create a Firebase auth variable. So it is gonna be Firebase auth. I have just created an empty Firebase authentication variable. So now I would have to instantiate the variable within my onCreate. So we are gonna do that. So on the instantiation part, Firebase auth equal to Firebase auth This is what it does. So get instance basically gets a current object reference, and it basically is gonna do the stuff. So we'll just go ahead inside this part. Here we have already instantiated our Firebase authentication, so we are going to use our Firebase authentication variable Firebase auth dot sign in with email and password, because this is the case where we are logging in. So we'll sign in with email and password, email comma password. Then we would have to set. Then this thing basically needs an on-complete listener. We'll put something like an on-complete listener or an on-success listener. So we'll put something like on-complete listener, because we would have to know whether the task has come or failed, right? So we'll put an on-complete listener and on-complete listener. What this add on-complete listener requires, it is a not nullable and it requires an on-complete listener class. So we'll put new complete listener. So on complete listener task is there. We will just hit enter. It will put up all the source code that you require. So put up a semicolon over here. So now you would have to check if the task is successful or not, right? So first we'll do something like, so that task already has an object which is task, so it is in the small case. So we'll just use that thing. So task dot is successful. Task is successful. We know that a unique identifier, a unique user identifier has been created. So what basically happens is, if a new user has been successfully created, that is the new user has successfully signed in, he would already have a user ID. So that UID will be there. If task dot is successful, we are going to send him to the next screen. So we already know that he has his own UID, and we'll just send him to the screen, which happens to be our next screen. That is our bottom nav part. So new intent main activity 2.this, where we want him to go. So that is our main activity 3. So I'll just put main activity 3 dot class. So yeah, so main activity 3 dot class, we'll just put up a semicolon over here. Then we'll start activity. We'll start our intent object. If successful, this part is gonna get executed. If it is not successful, we are gonna say that user that it is failed, and we'll ask him to try after some time, and we'll paste it over here. What we'll say is auth failed. So that's it. So this is what this part is gonna do. So user enters the detail, and if both the email and password are not equal to null, we are using the Firebase authentication class and Firebase authentication, and we are sending the email and password to the Firebase API, and we are checking if there exists a user of this sort, and if there exists a user of this sort, if task is successful, then we are going to send him to the next screen. Else we are going to say that authentication has failed. So that's it. So now we'll handle the other case. So the other case, in the sense, now what we have done so far is we have checked if the user has clicked on this login button. So we would have to handle the other case, which is when he clicks on here, he would have to be redirected to a sign up page. So for that, so what is our text view object's name? So our text view object's name is text view, and the way we have used this, it is TV. So we'll use something like TV dot set on click listener. Set on click listener to on click listener. So what happens has to be specified within here. So we are going to use something called intent. Grab the code from this part. Part that we need. So I'm just going to grab, and I'll just make it small. So let the error be there sometime. We'll just come back and solve that. So that is we are going to put our bottom navigation activity as our third activity. That is our main activity 3. So here in this activity, we are going to send this page to our sign up activity. So sign up activity. So for sign up activity, we need to create a new activity. So we'll just go ahead and create a new activity called sign up activity. a project, create new activity, which is again gonna be an empty activity. So this activity is gonna be named as Signup Activity. So we'll just hit a finish. So now our project gets. So we'll just now our sign up activity is added, so that we can just go up ahead to our sign up page and we can add all the contents. So what this thing has to be done is, it is gonna have the same UI as our login page. The only place where it is gonna change is, instead of login, it is gonna have sign up, and this text view will not be visible. So we'll just go ahead. We'll just copy the entire code part. That is what I'm gonna do is, I'm just gonna get everything. So we do not need a text view, we need only these 4 components. We'll just copy these components. We'll get to our front end, we'll just get to the split mode, then we'll add all these 4 components. So now all the 4 components will be added, but be sure to change the ID of all these components. So what we would have to do is, we would have to change the ID of all these components that we are using. Yeah. So we'll just add a 1 to this thing, and at the same time, you would have to know that the constraints are recorded in the name of those components. As you can see, it shows that image view 2 is the one thing that has been constrained with. So if you change the name of this thing, it is gonna entirely forget what is image view 2 and it is gonna jump out of places. So we do not want that either. So first what we'll do is, we'll just go ahead, we'll delete the constraints manually. So we'll just get to our active pane, delete the constraints. So I'll delete this constraint and I'll also delete this constraint. So now I'm gonna add a name to this thing. So we'll just go ahead, we'll start changing the names of. So everything has been renamed. So now what we'll do is, we'll go ahead, we'll add our constraints once again. And instead of login, we need something called sign up. So we'll have something like sign up, and then we'll add it to the string resource. So this is how our front end looks like, and we also need one more thing. We need the background to be of a certain color. So we'll just go ahead, put it right here. That's it, done. So this is how our backend is gonna look like. So this is how our backend looks like. So this is our sign up page, and now we would have to handle all the edge cases over here too. So we need to email and password, we need the string, and instead of login, we are gonna have something like sign up. So I'm just copying all that part, I'm putting it over here. So instead of login, that's it. So all the other things are same. We need to handle the declaration part. So declaration part will also be entered here. So we'll just copy this part entirely and we'll just paste it over there. But instead of email address, we are using email address 1, and instead of password, we are using password 1, and instead of button, we are using button 1, and instead of login, we have sign up. Changed all that. So now we are gonna handle what happens when you click on that sign up button. So sign up. Wait a second. So on it, sign up dot set on click listener, you on click listener. So now you would have to specify what happens when you click on that. So now we need something, we need the same Firebase authentication variable. So we'll add Firebase auth, Firebase auth. Now we would have to instantiate that. So Firebase auth equal to Firebase get instance. That's it. You get it. So when the user clicks on sign up, what should happen has to be specified. So we are gonna do something like Firebase auth dot create user with email and password, and we are gonna get the email and password, but as usual we would have to check if both the email and password strings are not null, right? So we'll just go ahead, what we'll do is we'll just copy this part, we are gonna get that string and we are gonna check if these things are right, and we will also handle the else if part. So else if part is the place where we are going to change it to where we are going to send it to the next screen, right? So just put it all these down. So instead of main activity 2, it is gonna be signup activity. Change that. Signup activity. And within here, we are not gonna sign in with email and password. So I'll just delete the entire content over here. So instead of signing in with email and password, we are gonna create a user with email and password. So we'll just give email comma password. So the same thing is needed here. So we need an add on success listener. So if we add an on success listener, it will return only if the condition is only if the task is successful. We need to check if it is verified or not, right? So we'll use an on complete listener for this too. So add an on complete listener, new on complete listener. So we'll check if the task has success. So if the task is successful, we're gonna send him to the next screen. Else, we're gonna say something like user creation failed. So we'll just go ahead. So if the task is if the task is successful, we are gonna send him directly to our bottom navigation activity, which is gonna be main activity 3, as I already told. If the task is failed, we are gonna say something like authentication. We are gonna say something like authentication has failed. So we'll just go ahead. We'll paste that thing over here. So yeah, user instead of auth failed, we'll use something like user creation failed. User creation failed. So instead of main activity, we need something like sign up. Goes over here. That's it. Everything is done. So yes, we have handled almost all the edge cases. Now there is something else that we need to handle. I'll tell you when the time comes. We'll just go ahead. The only error that we have left out is our main activity 3 is not created. So what we'll do is we are gonna go ahead, create a new activity, which is gonna be a bottom navigation activity. So we'll hit there. It is gonna be main activity 3. Yes, we'll hit finish. So bottom navigation activity basically is entirely different from all the other activities that we have used so far. So before we get into that, let's just go ahead. Let's finish up all our parts. So now basically what happens is, so first we are going to display the splash screen, and then we will come to this page. So this is the page where the user basically enters the information and signs in if he is already a user, and if he is not a user, he would be sent to. If he is not a user, you would be just going into this page, clicking on that. You will enter all the stuff. You will be sent directly to a page called main activity 3.xml. So this is the bottom navigation page, and this is where he will be sent to. So okay, all that is done. So but according to our code, every time a user opens the application, he would have to enter this thing and he would have to get it. So instead of this, we'll have a universal checkpoint. That is, we'll check if we have a current user or not. If we do not have a current user, we'll just ask him to enter all the details. If we already have a current user, we'll just skip all these login procedures and sort. So as soon as it comes in, on create, we'll check if Firebase auth dot get instance dot get current user. So we'll try to get the current user. So if the current user is equal to null, we'll do all these stuff from here up till the end of this part. I'll just close up this if. Where is ref? So yeah. So if we have a current user, we'll do all that we have discussed so far. So else, if we do not have, we already have a current user. That is Firebase auth.getInstance.current user is not equal to null. That is the else part. So if the current user is already present, we'll go directly to our main activity 3 instead of here. So I'll just copy that. We'll just go ahead and place it. So we'll just put it over. So what happens is, if there is no current user, the user would be prompted to enter all the details and everything will happen. Else, the user will be directly loaded into our main activity 3. So now everything is fine. We have handled all the edge cases. Now we'll get to our main activity 3.xml and we'll just go ahead. So we'll close everything up. So now we have handled the project up to the place where we have completed our authentication and we have sent the user directly to our home screen. So anyway, we'll just run the output and we'll check if how our application looks like. So yeah, if you're facing any errors of this sort, so that is like it says something like Google services.json is missing, do not worry. It is rather a very simple error. You just get to your project pane. Instead of your Android pane, change to project pane, and within your project pane just expand your current project, and you need something like within app you need something like Google services.json, which is basically the file which is going to connect your application to your Firebase. So do not panic. If you need your application, you just go to your project overview in Firebase. It shows you something like this. Just click on this. It will say continue SDK setup. Just go in. It will say download Google services.json. Just download Google services.json file. So as soon as the file gets downloaded, just get the file. Wait a second. We'll just go to the file directly. Just copy that file. Close it up. Get to your Android Studio project. Put it inside this app. So we'll just put it, paste. So yeah, everything is done. So we'll just run the project again. So it takes some time to install the application. We'll just go ahead, wait for it. So our current application got installed. So it is showing the splash screen for 1, 2, 3, and yeah, it's gone. So now we would have to enter through our thing. So first we'll just go ahead, we'll sign up as a new user. So it is asking us, so we'll enter something. I can put anything over here. So I'm just setting a random password over here. So I'm just hitting sign up. So if it succeeds, it gets to my home segment. So that is to my bottom navigation activity. So how can I verify that? I can also verify that from my Firebase. I would just have to head to authentication. I will find my new user over here, and this is his unique identifier name. So we'll just check all the other parts of our application works in the upcoming. So we'll just go ahead. We'll check the other part. Close the application. So once again, I'm just gonna open our application. So to check if it already keeps the current user verification. So as you can see, it does not send me to the login page. It directly logs me in because it already knows that I have already signed up in this application. So this is how Firebase authentication entirely works. Stay tuned to the course. We'll catch up in the next session with database references, how to upload and retrieve data from Firebase, how to use Firebase database, and on the upcoming thing we'll also check how to use Firebase storage, and we'll do something of recycle or view sort. So thank you all. Thank you so much.